Hey everybody, it's me, Michelle Wright of 99 Ways to Win. Welcome back. This is the final installment of the Keep It in Your Pants reaction series where we are reacting to a video by I Am Rashad talking about his falling off the asp in his wagon. And you may remember in part 2, we discussed the guilt and shame that can come from stumbling in the area of sexual immorality, particularly as a woman, right, and a Christian woman. But we reminded ourselves it's important to pick up and move forward. But what if your prospective partner wants to hold your past against you? Well, Falon ran into this and she had a great response. So we're going to learn how and why we can escape condemnation and how we can feel value for ourselves despite our mistakes in dating and relationships. So let's check it out.
But yeah, dude says, you got 3 kids. It ain't like you a virgin anyway. And basically discounting me.
Man.
And he told me that you think a man gonna want you after 3 kids anyway. The all you got is to offer,
Well, now you know what his mindset is, so he just did you a favor.
And this was call number 1. So
dang.
It was crazy because he was like,
Thank you for not wasting my time, sir. Bye.
Yeah, he continued to waste my time because we were on the phone and I don't even like talking about sex. Like I really just want to get to know you, right? So we'll start off with I just want to get to know you type,
okay.
Just talk, whatever. And he was like, oh yeah, and I can't stand them religious women that's ready to just stop having sex. And I was like, I said, elaborate. And he was like, well, I can see you can love God and still have sex. I mean, we just doing, And I said, well, and so I was very quiet on the phone, just listening, I listened good. And he was like, you one of them? It's like he could understand the silence meant you one of them. And I was like, yeah, I prefer not to have sex before marriage. He was like, you got 3 No, he said, well, this ain't gonna work. And I said, well, I understand that. And I thank you, for your time. And he was like, can I ask you something? And I was like, sure. I don't know what else we could talk about,
Right.
And he's like, can I ask you something? I was like, yeah, sure, go ahead. Trying to be as polite as possible. And he was like, what makes you think that a man gonna wine and dine you and take you out and jump through hoops and you got 3 kids? And I was like, well, I don't know what you mean by that because I can pay for my own food.
Number one.
You don't have to wine and dine me. If I want to be in your presence, I'll pay for my own food if I got to. I won't pay for yours, but I will pay for my own. I said, but 9 times out of 10, men pay for my food because they want to, because I'm good company.
Okay.
They
because they value me for more than a piece of meat or a piece of butt.
I've had plenty of men where I was like, hey, I like to go Dutch on the first date. Reason being is because if I don't like you, I don't want you to feel used, and I know it's hard out here. And I'm not going to ask you to take me on a date I can't afford myself. You hear me? So that's that, and people may call that a pick me or whatever, but that's my standard. Like that's what I do. We go on
that's considerate.
I think so. Just
that's
because I got some food.
I don't know that I would do that, but that's considerate.
Well, it's a lot of women out here that's only going on dates with men they know they would never get with.
Wow.
A lot of them. They out here using men for steak dinners and then not and ghosting them. And so I feel a little pity for them. So I'll say, you know what? If I don't like you, I don't feel like I owe you anything too. Because don't forget, I had to deal with some self-esteem issues myself. So in the past, if somebody did something for me, I felt like I owed them something. So you pay for my food now, I owe you something?
Wow.
So no, I don't want.
So it also protects you.
It protects me and it protects my
know yourself. See, that makes sense. Like for me, I'll be like, well, I mean, that's what they're supposed to do. Yeah, so okay, it didn't work out. Okay, you
right.
Fine. That's what I'm saying. But yeah, for what you're saying, like, okay, that makes sense. So you do that, right?
Yeah. And every time the lady comes, hey, here's your check, 2 checks. And the guy will be like, nah. Even if he never talks to me again, he grabs my check because I was good personality. I was good to be around. I was pleasant. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't a
And he's
waste.
being a man, you know what I'm saying? Like,
hello. And that's the top part. But I was telling him that this is why they pay for my food. And so he was like, well, you got 3 kids. You ain't no man gonna wait on you and all that stuff, And it was just like,
no, you not gonna wait, dude. Bye.
yeah,
Bye.
you mean
You
self.
just mad. You're mad because you can't have me. And so now you got to figure out some kind of way to put me down.
Right. And so my homeboy told me, I told you, my homeboy Chris, we talked, and he said something so beautiful. He was like, he doesn't want to, again, he's a man. So that lukewarm woman is kind of up his alley. Okay. But he wants her to be so cool personality wise and mind wise that doesn't even come to mind until it's about time to pretty much say, hey, this is very serious, and this is somebody I can see myself with for the rest of my life, and I can't do without her. And so by that time, y'all been so engulfed in your presence together that the sex part hasn't come up yet.
So he's saying like there's personality, there's a relationship and a connection there. So I'm not just looking at her as, I'm just looking at her body and she look good, because there's actually something there.
Yes.
But then that's cool. But that's because he's looking for an actual relationship. He wants a person that he can partner with, not just somebody he can use for physical pleasure.
Right. But if that happens, because she kind of lukewarm and not standing on it, he good with that. Trust me, me and him done fussed about it.
My gosh.
You say you don't want a woman to hold you accountable.
That's benign premeditation, sir. That's funny. Well, that's better than like trying to guilt her and pressure her into it, at least. Oh man. That's funny. But is he honest? He's being honest.
Yeah.
He's being honest.
And he wants to do good. You know what I'm saying? He wants to abstain. He wants to do the right thing. It's just harder for him, because of the semen retention.
What do you mean because of the semen retention? What do you mean?
That's a real thing. Like, I'm for real.
No, explain. What do you mean it's harder for him because of the semen retention? What do you mean?
Semen builds up in a man.
But they have, it comes out at night when they're asleep and stuff. It's not enough.
That's not real. Yeah, that's not enough. Something has to happen. Now they can relieve it if they want to or whatever. I believe it's in women too, though. I believe sometimes, back in the day when I was, I was in a 12-year relationship without being married.
12 years?
Yeah.
Ooh, dang.
To my children's father. And there were times, after so many years, y'all just going high and by and nothing's happening.
Oh, and, dang.
One day I got to snapping or something. I said, you know what?
Well, you were like, come here, you look good tonight. Did you do that? Like, come here.
Let's see if this will make me, calm down some, because I'm mad at everybody right now. You know what I'm saying? And sure enough, I was cool later on. The next day I went to work smiling. So I believe women got that too, where we need the so-called release.
Yeah, it releases serotonin and all this other stuff. So now my question is, I wonder, does it does it matter? Like if you never, like if you grow up, your kid, obviously nothing, you have a normal childhood, you don't do anything, and then like you're a virgin and you don't have sex until or unless you get married. Is that a different experience as far as aggression, tension, and stuff, etc., building up from not, as opposed to somebody that, okay, you went there and you've experienced it now, and now you're trying to not do it anymore. You know what I mean? I wonder, is there a difference as far as like how it makes you whatever? Because, and there may not be, but I wonder that, because obviously when you look in the Bible, it's it's like I was talking to my brother one time, and I was like, well, where does it say that you're not supposed to have sex unless you're married? And I've been believing this, for years, but it's just like, we're talking about different stuff. And he's like, well, like, it doesn't specifically say it like that, but if you read, you can get that that's what, if you look at like when he talks about, marriage and abstaining from sexual impurity and stuff like that. It's like you get the point, right? That like you don't see anywhere where it's ordained. Even if you look in the Old Testament with the different laws and stuff, and it was like if the man and the woman slept together, and that was a sin, they got to get married, or then if this other stuff happened and they get stoned and all this stuff. So it's like, okay, yeah, apparently you can't hook up if you ain't got married, right? The God ain't cool with that, right? So that being said, if he has this standard that you can't have that release unless you're married, and everybody ain't gonna get married, some people, for whatever reason, they may not get married or whatever like that, then like it seemed odd that it would make it where like there's gonna be so, you're gonna just constantly get be aggressive or tense or whatever because you're doing what God told you to do. So
again, though, we have to think about it in the way that how sin entered the world.
Okay, talk to me.
So something had to happen for sin to enter the world. I believe that something has to trigger that build up. So if you've never released before, or if you are a virgin and you never had this, there's a certain part that's probably cut off. So you don't have that aggression and stuff that now it may come out a different way than what we feel,
yeah. So
non-virgin will feel.
Yeah, so you think it probably, so you lean on the thing, you think probably like if you're a virgin, you do not have the same challenges as if you've indulged.
Not that kind.
And now you're trying to
abstain. Right.
Yeah.
I only
it'd be interesting to see
Pandora's box.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I don't know, and that really is not anything that I really had thought about before now. So it'd be interesting to see if there's any kind of like, research on that or something. I may or may not look that up at some point, but yeah, I mean, I think so, because this is like once it's like once you didn't tasted that.
Well, because when we sin, it becomes something.
That on.
Right.
You turn it on, so it's like,
well, sin begets more sin.
Yeah, because now, yeah, it does. And now I'm trying to think. So now I'm thinking. So I'm thinking back to. Okay, I gotta go back to teenager. I feel like before you actually do anything, it's more like curiosity. You kind of have maybe like some feelings, but it's nowhere near the same feeling after you've experienced something, right? So because I'm just trying to think, like, to kind of try to answer my own question. It was like, okay, yeah, it's not the same. It's not the same. So yeah, you don't have the same. Yeah. So anybody that's listening, if you have not had sex yet, you know,
Don't
you're not
open the
married.
box.
I don't care how old you is. I don't care how weird, odd you may feel. You think everybody else doing it. Just don't go there. Just don't go there.
It's trouble.
It's not where you're gonna make it. You're gonna make it harder on yourself. Don't go there. You're gonna make it harder.
But
on
I will
yourself.
say this. I will say this. This is just to close it out for me. Okay. So I was talking to Chris about it, and I was talking to him about marriage, but I was talking to him about, being divorced and am I okay to marry now and all this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
And I heard on the video that we just watched, where he was like, you can't go into the lion's den and stuff like that. And so even if he did cut the young lady off because he's like, you know what, I'm not ready yet because I can't abstain yet. I failed the test, blah, blah, blah. You know, um, Chris asked me, well, did you master the sin if you never go anywhere? Because I was talking about not dating anymore, and just leaving it alone and just going on, and maybe God will send me my husband through osmosis, because I didn't want to date,
He could. Well, and I think there's before I lose a thought, I think there's a in between, or so you're dating as in like, maybe you're looking at dating apps or you see somebody and they ask for your number. You're like, okay, cool. And you're like, maybe I need to stop doing that. And then I think you could do that, but then you also be open to, like, if God sends you somebody and you can just sense that, okay, this person is okay to talk to. So you're not like looking, you know what I'm saying? But you can't wait for them to come to you. Because I've heard, on different shows, like this woman was talking about, like, she said she literally told God, okay, you're going to have to send my husband to me because there's no guys around here. And she was just working in ministry and stuff like that. And this guy flew in like from Atlanta to New York, where her church was, because he was doing some kind of church work and he was coming like once a month or something. And they didn't interact for like the first 2 or 3 months. And then they ended up talking to each other, and then they would kind of go out, and then they started talking, and and now they're married. So he literally, like, she was like, God literally brought him to me. And she could tell, right? She wasn't out dating. So I think, that could happen. It's not like, oh, I'm giving up and I'm never going to date anybody. That's not what you're saying, but you're like, maybe I don't go out and be active.
Maybe
like
not pursue it
right
as aggressively as I have been. But if you do that, did you really master it? Can you really say that you trust the Lord to give you the strength and the way out to do the right?
Do you need to prove that? To me, that's like the thing
that's
about
what he was
trying to
saying
prove
on
something.
video.
Like,
on the video, he was saying, why am I trying to prove something to myself? But to me, it's more of practice makes perfect. Because I do want to be able to say to myself that, hey, I can say no for the sake of the Lord, and I can do better. But all I can say to anybody that's listening, that's struggling in this singleness that you're in, and you desire a husband or a wife, and you want to do it the godly way. My friend pointed out, even though we've been married before, or we've had sex before, I was beating myself up today about it, actually, about, well, I've been doing this. He was like, man, you're living in condemnation. And I was like, well, I'm not living in condemnation. I just know what's going on. Me and Chris, we go at it. You know what I'm saying? And so I was like, well, I just don't want to sin. And I see this and I don't want to sin. And he was like, you're living in condemnation. And I was like, well, what did Jesus say? And I said, I told him what Jesus said about this particular sin. And he was like, yeah, but what did Jesus say to the woman?
Neither do I condemn you. Now go and sin no more.
Chris doesn't know it, but when he said that, I just immediately started crying. He does not know that I did start.
He got to listen to this podcast and then he'll know. Wow.
Because he said, what did he say to the woman? You've had 5 husbands. Now go and sin no more.
Oh, he said that to the other lady. But them 2 different ladies.
I know, but still, he said it.
Yeah, but the woman that had the 5, he's like, you done had 5, and the one you with is not your husband.
Yeah.
But he still ministered to her. He let her know, look, you didn't do too much for me to come save you. I came to talk to you. And then she went out and got everybody else.
It's just a cool thing, to know that that's why those they're big nuggets, but they seem so subtle just on the surface. But when you think about it and you try to apply it to your life, you're like, now go and sin no more. So when you're going through this, you do not wallow in it. Don't live in condemnation.
Yeah.
But pick yourself up, go and sin no more, and just try it again.
Amen.
So that's all.
That's good. That's good. That's good. That's a wrap on that one. Miss Falon, as only Falon can say it.
All right. Thank you so much for listening to this final installment, part 3 of 3 in the Keep It In Your Pants series. If you missed parts 1 or 2, make sure you go back and check those out. Like Falon said, if you have messed up, don't wallow in it. Just pick yourself up, ask God to forgive you and forgive yourself, and move forward. John chapter 4 is the story with the woman at the well, the Samaritan woman who had 5 husbands. And John chapter 8 is the woman who was caught in adultery, whom Jesus said, neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more. I encourage you to read those accounts and really soak in what God is saying to us, what God is saying to you, the heart of God. He does not want you to stay in a bad place. He does not want you to stay in your sins, in condemnation. He loves you. That's why he came to earth, to make sure that you had a way to be right with him. And if you've never put on Christ in baptism, if you've never dedicated your life to God and really surrendered to him, I'm encouraging you to consider doing that. All right, reach out to us. You can text us at 682-738-5393. That's 682-738-5393. If you have any questions about anything that we said, if you want to share how this series has helped you, if you have any suggestions on things that you want us to talk about in the future, just hit us up, 682-738-5393. And make sure that you share this with somebody else who could use this message, all right? Until next time, remember, the ultimate success is a life devoted to Jesus Christ. So keep seeking your success.